Over the past 20 years, I have witnessed numerous vehicle component failures, most of which were directly caused by neglecting preventative maintenance. Every part of your vehicle requires some form of preventative care, from routine oil changes and tire rotations to less common services like brake fluid exchanges and belt replacements. Perhaps the most overlooked component is the automatic transmission. Transmission maintenance is as straightforward as an oil change, but only needs to be done every few years rather than every few months. This infrequent service requirement is likely a key reason it is so often neglected. According to a 2017 Bureau of Transportation Statistics study, the average American drives just 14,500 miles annually. Major transmission specialists like AAMCO recommend fluid services between every 30,000 to 100,000 miles, meaning the average driver may only need to service their transmission once every 4 to 10 years. This statistic highlights part of the problem. The service interval can vary widely based on manufacturer recommendations, fluid type, and transmission design. Without easy access to this information, many vehicle owners simply forget about this critical maintenance task. Lack of public awareness around the importance of transmission service, combined with its infrequent requirement, results in this component being routinely overlooked. Another key challenge is the vehicle's service history. If a transmission has not been serviced on time, most shops will avoid performing a full flush, as it can cause further issues. Since most Americans neglect regular transmission maintenance, many shops simply don't recommend the service. As a result, many car owners only consider servicing the transmission once shifting problems begin, often too late, as the damage may already be done. The silver lining is that a basic transmission filter change or fluid exchange can often be done at home with minimal risk. This allows owners to proactively maintain the transmission even if the full service history is unclear. To service your transmission, first you need to do some research. Many times you could reach out to a local repair shop for most of the information you need. The things you need to know are the type of fluid needed, how much fluid you need, procedures for checking your fluid level, torque specs and bolt tightening pattern for the transmission pan bolts, and what, if any, special tools or equipment you'll need. Next, search for instructions specific to your vehicle model, such as how to change the transmission filter in my 2007 Ford Focus. Or if your vehicle doesn't have a serviceable filter, try searching for how to change the transmission fluid. Watch tutorial videos from multiple sources, as they often provide different information and visuals that can be helpful when you begin the actual service. Lastly, gather the necessary materials. Order the filter kit, purchase the correct fluid, and ensure you have the required tools such as a jack, jack stands, socket set, torque screw bits, and a drain bucket. Ensure your drain bucket can hold the amount of fluid that you expect to change. For this 2012 GMC Acadia, I'll need between 4.2 and 6.3 quarts of Dexron 6 fluid, a ratchet wrench, an 11mm socket, and a drain bucket. I'm using a lift, but I'll show you some good places to put your jack and jack stands. Step 1. Place your vehicle on the most level surface that you can. Step 2. Engage the emergency brake or parking brake on your vehicle and place a chalk block behind a tire. Step 3. Using your jack and jack stands, raise and support the front of your vehicle. Step 4. Locate your transmission pan or drain plug and set your drain bucket up to catch the fluid. Step 5. If you're doing a drain and fill because your transmission filter is not serviceable, remove the drain plug like I am in this 2012 GMC Acadia and skip to step 12. Step 6. In this video for a 2007 Ford Focus, we'll walk through removing the transmission filter. Remove the bolts from one end of the pan above the drain bucket. This should allow the fluid to start draining. Note, as the fluid drains, take a moment to inspect the fluid for contaminants. If this is the first time you're doing the service, most likely you will see that the fluid is more brownish than red. This isn't super concerning, but finding lots of shiny specks in the fluid can be. When the flow slows, loosen the 2 remaining corner bolts in an alternating manner to avoid spilling too much fluid too quickly. Caution: do not completely remove the bolts before you're ready. Once the bolts are loosened most of the way and no fluid is flowing, you can remove the bolts one at a time, being careful to hold the pan with one hand as you remove the last bolt. Step 9. Remove the filter sensor plug from the filter, then remove the filter. Be careful, it will have fluid inside and behind it in the transmission. Let this fluid drain out. Step 10. Clean the transmission pan and the transmission mating surfaces. Little trick, I put the new gasket on the pan so that I can see the holes are lined up and the gasket is in the correct orientation. I usually insert 2 bolts in to keep the gasket in place during the reinstallation. Once you have the first 2 bolts started, thread the other 2 corner bolts. Now, you should be able to start threading the remaining transmission pan bolts, but do not tighten any of them until you have all of them started. Step 11. Last, following the torque specs you looked up and the bolt tightening pattern, finish reinstalling the transmission pan bolts. Step 12. Moving back to the drain and fill, you can now tighten the drain plug to the torque spec you already looked up. Note, different transmissions are filled with various methods, but for this video, we're going to focus on those filled through the transmission dipstick tube. If you have a different system, follow those steps instead. Step 13. Remove the jacks and jack stands before checking the fluid level. This needs to be done while the vehicle is level. Note, when you looked up your fluid capacity, if it is a range like mine was, start with the lowest capacity listed. It's important not to overfill the transmission fluid. Step 14. Start the car and let it idle until it reaches normal operating temperature. Step 15. Shift your vehicle through the gears manually. Pause in each gear for 5 seconds. When you reach the bottom of the selector, hold for 10 seconds and then go back up towards park, pausing again in each gear for 5 seconds. Step 16. Check the transmission fluid level. Step 17. If the fluid level is not on the dipstick, add half of a quart of fluid. Shift through the gears the same way and check again. Repeat until the fluid is on the dipstick, then follow step 18. Step 18. If the fluid level is on the dipstick but still low, add fluid half a quart at a time until full. Congratulations, you have completed a transmission fluid service or transmission filter service, and probably saved yourself hundreds, if not thousands of dollars.